Gen.G in the news with a big brand in the announcement, and that's Burberry. So the headline here, Gen.G Esports teams up with Burberry to promote esports culture. What's happening is Burberry and Gen.G teaming up. They're going to do a talk show series, 4 episodes, coming to YouTube and TikTok on Burberry's official channels, in fact. And the show's going to be hosted by content creator Emily Gould and feature women who have been underrepresented in the esports scene. The question I have for you guys, so before I get to the question, first let me get to the very obvious. By the way, we've been doing this for a lot longer than Gen.G and Burberry. You should absolutely go tune in to Lindsay's amazing show, Meta Woman, because for a while now, she's been doing this every single week, highlighting underrepresented women in gaming and Web3 and Metaverse. So I would argue we do this way better than anyone else, including Gen.G. But I'm curious what you guys think of this being Burberry's first move, right? Like, we see a lot of brands, and I think there's always interesting discussion around when they're getting into esports, what's the first thing they decide to do? Is this the right move for Burberry in your minds? Like, where would you put this on the scale of, I love the activation versus like, maybe this was a miss?
Lindsay, I think this
Lindsay,
is...
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, because we talked about this story a little bit before, and I also want to point out that I actually had Gen.G's chief marketing officer on, and she was awesome. And we actually talked a lot about the overlap between gaming and fashion, because she has the background in fashion, and just really cool. Her name is Gina Lee. I'm sure she was instrumental in this. Obviously, I think more content, the better, that are highlighting women. I certainly prefer my own show, of course, but I'm always happy to see people added to the space. I think it can only do good. With that being said, being that I have not, I actually do wish Jimmy was here for this, because I don't have a good sense of what works in luxury fashion activations. And Paul, I think you'll have a lot to say about that too, just being that you are a luxury brands person. I don't know that I fully understand the value add. I obviously think that fashion brands getting into esports, trying to connect with those people and those brands is really important. Women have really high spending power. So I think there's definitely some obvious connections here. So I don't want to discount that. That being said, when we talk about these first activations, I mean, I think it's better. I can't remember which brand did it now. This is like how bad I am with luxury brands. But the one that was sort of sponsoring a team and doing some stuff like at the team house. And William had an office hours about it, actually. I wish I could remember what that was a little better. I think that this is more of a step in the right direction than that. But that being said, it's also a very short activation. Like 4 episodes of a show is not particularly long. I think that Gen.G will get more out of being able to put Burberry on their branding than maybe Burberry would get out of being able to put Gen.G on theirs, just because with only 4 episodes and that being kind of a short time, the Burberry audience is just going to be larger. I mean, all that being said, I like this story. I like that luxury fashion brands are working to highlight women in the gaming space. But I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say about it, because I just never know how to judge the takeaways from these things. You know, it's so hard to me.
I have a question. What's the breakdown of Burberry, like male versus female, in their audience? Because I guess to me, you know, it feels like with this collaboration, they're sort of targeting a female audience, at least within esports. And I'm not sure, like, as a first foray, whether that totally makes sense, because it feels like the lower hanging fruit is more on the male side within esports. And then maybe once you've kind of gotten through that, it's like, okay, now we're going for the broader audience. But that may just be wrong on a lot of different fronts. So that's the first thing that popped into my head.
I mean, there's definitely more opportunity in white space going after women. It's less crowded. And with luxury brands, a lot of times the buyer is a woman, regardless of, like, they're either buying it for themselves or they're buying it as a gift for their husbands, their boyfriends, etc. Right? It's like the buyer is often a woman. So I think this makes sense. I was put off by, and Lindsay, you alluded to this, four episodes. Like, feels a little bit like lip service at that point, right? Doesn't feel like real commitment to the cause the way we have committed to it, right? And the way you have committed to it. And week after week put out content and highlighted people. And again, so I think, is it better than nothing? Yes. Would it be way better if there was a bigger commitment to this and it extended beyond because I think content is king. Making that the centerpiece obviously makes sense, but Gen.G has a lot of other avenues that I feel like they could have activated, and maybe that's on the roadmap. But the 4-episode thing feels weak to me. Feels a little throwaway. Like maybe this was just for the press release.
Well, I do want to note that I think it's huge of Gen.G to land a luxury brand, and I think that's quite an accomplishment for the team there. I'm certainly hoping that they were sort of able to land them and get them on board for this 4-episode project. And I'm sure that the folks at Gen.G were pushing for way more. But I definitely think it's a huge get for them. So that's awesome. But on the Burberry side of things, yes, I wish that there was more of a commitment to the cause for sure. Also, what I was thinking of was the Dolce & Gabbana collaboration with makers.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, but that one where they're doing a lot of stuff in the gaming houses and challenges, and this Burberry thing feels better than that, but I'm not sure. Nothing has felt as good as the Gucci League of Legends collaboration, so we're somewhere in the middle there, I guess.
You know what also is I confuse all these activations in my head because none have really stood out in some way. The only one I kind of remember is Louis making that mobile game, right? Which I think Jimmy and you played for, a few minutes, and we talked about it, and but otherwise I forget. There was one brand that did, I think just recently, right? They announced that they were going to do some kind of academy and pay for players, and now I forget the brand, right? Which
the
conclusion is
these aren't lasting inroads in the gaming space in the way that I would like to see them.
And because the activation doesn't feel as natural, the association doesn't stick as much, right? I think that's part of the problem. I don't immediately go, oh yeah, Academy is whatever, because that's what that brand's all about. And and so some of this just could be better, I feel. Chris says Louis Vuitton or Gucci. I think Lindsay said it was Dolce finally. Chris says take NA out of the equation, focus on female, Chinese, and South West Asian markets, and it all makes sense. Completely. Burberry is huge in that part of the world. So, and with a host, I believe she's Asian. That makes complete sense. And Gen.G has offices in Asia that. That's a big part of their focus also. Chris says NA esports fans more likely to buy at Spencer's. Yeah. Or Five Below, which did the Booga thing, and I think Walmart did something. Probably you're right.